Hello and welcome to my studio. In this video I'm going to show you how I made this picture. This uses the practical light from the subject to enhance the final image. Also, the highlight is designed to fit with the storyline of an Edwardian study. And in this video I'm going to show you exactly how I did it. Okay, so this is what I've got set up so far. So on this table I've placed this board, and I've placed a few objects on here to create the idea of an Edwardian study. So I've got an old ES lamp here with an old ES lamp holder, some cotton covered cable, etc., and a few other bits and bobs. So that's going to be the subject for this video. Now I mentioned at the start about practical light. So what I mean by that is the actual light which is given off by part of your subject. So in this case, this will be lit when I'm using it. These bits of cable here are just for show really. They don't have anything to do with the wiring for the lamp. Okay, so to capture that, as I usually use, I'm using this full frame digital SLR with a 24-70 zoom lens on the front and a flash sync trigger on the top. And the camera is tethered into Capture One software, so it's easy to see the results as we go along. Okay, so I've previously placed this tripod, so I'll just pop the camera on the top of the tripod and we'll wind this up a little to get to somewhere like the right angle. Something like that. We'll just have a little look and see what that looks like. Okay, so I think that's a little high. I might just bring that down ever so slightly on the center column to about there. And I'm going to leave this at the wide angle end. I don't think I need to zoom in. I think that's fine as it is. Just check the focus. Yeah, that looks fine. Okay, so with that all set, what I can do now is just turn the camera on. And the software has recognized the camera, so I can show the settings which I have on the camera at the moment. So that's in full manual mode. I've got a shutter speed of 1/250th of a second, which is the flash sync speed for that camera, ISO 100, and at the moment I'm using an aperture of f8. So with those settings, what I'll do is just grab an image and just make sure I don't get any contamination from the house lights. There we go. So you can probably see in here that we're getting some highlights in the glass, and that is from the lights that we have on in the studio at the moment. So when we come to do the proper images, we'll probably need to turn the lights out. But for now, I'm just going to leave that so you can see what we're doing as we set up the rest of the picture. Okay, so to actually light this, what I want to do is mimic the sort of light that you might get from a window in an Edwardian study. So to do that, what I'm going to do is use this studio head, which is a 500 joule studio head, and this has on the front of it a 2 foot by 2 foot softbox. So this will give a square highlight, which isn't really what I want. So what I'm going to do is add to that a couple of strips of material here, just to break it up into smaller segments, as you might get on a window. So we'll just clip these on fairly simply, like so. And I'll put another one just across the other way. There we are. So now this will hopefully resemble the window panes as they are illuminated. Okay, so we're going to place this in position about here somewhere. Something like that anyway. Okay, so with that I'll just turn that on. There we are. and at an arbitrary energy level we'll grab an image and just see what we get. Okay, so that's starting to get there. It's a little dark, it's probably a couple of stops under, but you can see the shape of the highlight that I've got in the glass, and it really does look a little bit like a window, which is what I want. So what I'm going to do is just add a couple of stops of energy to that head, and we'll grab it again. Okay, so that seems to have worked quite well. The exposure is looking reasonable, possibly a little hot on the book, but we'll see how we go. I'll just zoom into the detail here. We can see that the subject itself is in focus, and the box is a little bit out. So what I'm going to do is increase the depth of field, and to do that I'm going to change the aperture from f8 to f16. There we are. So that's a 2-stop change, so I'll need to add 2 stops of energy to the light to compensate. So let's just do that. There we go. There we are, that's looking a bit sharper. I zoom in now. Yes, you can see that this is all still sharp, and now the box is sharp as well. Good. Okay, but the background to the image is a little plain. Just leaving it black is one option, but not one that I want to go with. So what I'm going to do is make up a background just using a C-stand like this, and on that C-stand I'm just going to place a piece of mount board. So this is a nice green colour, so it should complement the items that I've got at the front here. So we just pop that up in the air a little. There we are. Something like that. There we go. So with that in place, I'll just grab that again. There we are. That's getting there, I think. The exposure's probably a little high, maybe needs taking down a bit. So what I might do is just take a stop off to start with, and we'll just see what that looks like. Good. That's starting to get there. That's more like the sort of image I want. We might need to tune it a little as we go on. So the next step would be just to turn on the practical light. So this is an incandescent light, that is a normal filament just in an evacuated tube. Okay, so with that on, what we can do now is just grab an image and we'll see what difference we get. Okay, so we can see that the filament here is glowing, but we're not getting a great deal of light output. And that's because we're not giving enough time for that light to burn into the sensor. At the moment, I have a shutter speed of 1/250th of a second. Now, in order to pick up the light from this incandescent lamp, what I'm going to need to do is drop that shutter speed considerably. I'll go from 1/250th of a second to something like a 20th of a second. So with these settings, I'll just grab another image. So that's considerably brighter than it was before. This is what we had before, and this is what we've got now. But also we have quite a lot of contamination from the house lights. Now for the moment I'm just going to let that go, but when we come to do the proper images I will need to turn the house lights out. Okay, so to make this a useful light source in this scene, I'm going to need to drop the shutter speed even more. So if I now take this down from a 20th to say a full second, and we grab another image, There we are. That has really lit up the scene. So this is probably a bit too much, so let's take that to half a second. There we are. So I'll just grab that again. Yes, that's a bit better. Now it's probably a bit hard to tell with the house lights on. So what I'm going to do is just turn them out. Okay, so with the house lights out, let's just grab that again. Yes, that's worked very well, I think. So this has illuminated the surface of the book and the front of the box at the back here. I think the actual lamp itself is a little over, so what I'm going to do is just grab another image, but I'll change the shutter speed back to a 20th of a second. There we are. I think that's worked quite well. So what I'm going to do now, we've captured all the images that we need to. I'm just going to go into Photoshop and do the post-production. Okay, so here we are in Photoshop, and I've loaded up the two images that I captured earlier. So this is the image which was captured at 1/20th of a second, and this is the image that was captured at half a second. So in this image you can see that the practical light has illuminated the surface of the book and the front of the box, which is what we want. So to combine these two, what I'm going to do is just make a stack of those images. So I'm just going to come down to Scripts and Load Files into Stack, add the open files, and there we are. So Photoshop has made me a stack with two layers in it, one layer for each of the images. So to combine them, what I'm going to do is just add a layer mask to this top layer, like that, and just making sure that black is selected as the foreground color. I'm just going to paint onto that layer mask with a very soft, reasonably sized brush, which will just bring through the underlying image. There we are. Just like that. What I might do is just take that yellow tinge off the background there as well. There we go. So that's with that layer active, and that's without it. Now I think I might need to just clean up the very outsides of the image here. So I'm just going to add another layer on top, like this, and just with black, I'm just going to paint this side in a little, just to hide the background. There we are. So just take that down there, and the same on the other side, like that. So now what I can do is just pick a crop. Now I'm going to use this for video, so I'm using a specific ratio. And what I might do is just bring that in ever so slightly on the edge there. There we are. That's the sort of thing. Just click on OK. And there we have it. So by combining the practical light from the subject with the studio flash, I've ended up with a very atmospheric image. And together with the highlight mimicking a window, it fits in very well with the storyline. So I think overall that's ended up being a very pleasant image. Okay, well I hope you enjoyed seeing how I made that image, and if you like watching these sort of things, do click on the other pictures as they appear, and don't forget to subscribe. Oh, and hit the like button. Thank you very much for watching.